The value in networking.
I like in-person dealing more now with the shows.
There was a lot of foul activity going on, and no one's talking about it.
I feel like I see less patience in the hobby today. I want to get your thoughts on that. When you hear of the large dollar amounts now around PMGs, what do you think?
What it takes for someone to spend that much money on any card.
Fanatics did something tonight I had never heard about. They have a lottery.
We got you on the line.
Oh my goodness, we're both on the line.
Hey,
I don't think that the fact that they did Be Friends and Jackass is going to have any impact on how they treat sports cards.
So I asked you, FD, since we're rolling with FD.
let's roll, William. What's up?
I never would have thought a little piece of cardboard would change my life the way it has in the last 4 years.
And the hobby is alive and well.
Alive
FD.
and doing very well.
Alive and well.
You gotta let people know who you're rolling.
I'm rolling with FD.
You gotta let the people know who you're rolling with. Man.
Well, obviously I'm rolling with FD.
Hey, what's up, everyone? Woo, good working to get here. How we doing? If I'm fading out, it's because I'm teleporting like in Star Trek. No, I think my blue shirt is not working with the background, but we're gonna make it through it. How's everybody doing out there? It's Monday. We got 2 football games on tonight. We have a guest coming on too, but just want to give everybody a little update on what's happening on the NFL right now. Yeah, there are some games on. Tennessee versus Buffalo is on right now. Anybody rooting or cheering for that game? I know I'm not. But our guest is here. We have Troy on Rolling with FDs. What's the play? Troy, how you doing?
Hey, how's it going? Sorry, I'm a little late.
Oh, you're good. You're good. It's good to have you here.
Yeah, of course. Thanks for having me.
What's new and exciting?
What's new and exciting? Went to Dallas card show like 2 weeks ago. That was a pretty fun time, but no card show last weekend. So just living the dream, playing a little basketball, collecting cards, having a good time.
I know I sent you a few questions, but something came to mind that I wanted to get your opinion on. So Trey Lance went down yesterday.
Mm-hmm.
When a highly prospected player like that, something happens to him, what are some things that goes through your mind pertaining to that cards?
Yeah, I mean, it's definitely a reality check, right? I mean, the first thing is like, I'm a Niners fan. I'm born and raised in San Francisco. So that was my first reaction. Like, oh man, I feel for the kid. I feel for the team. But it's definitely a reality check. Like, I was sending a bunch of subs to PSA and I was having a lot of luck with it. And I sent a lot of Trey Lance cards. And then I just kind of had the reality check. I was like, oh yeah, that's the risk with sending to PSA. You don't get your cards back for 3 months. And by the time they come back, maybe the guy's injured. Maybe he hasn't performed. So it's definitely a little bit of a reality check for me. I mean, everyone knows it. Everyone knows that risk, but sometimes it's just kind of a reminder as well. Like that's the risk you take holding these guys going into the season.
So do you think people will hold his cards, try to sell his cards? What do you think some people what their next move is going to be?
I think it depends on the person. I think a lot of people are going to hold. I mean, I've already seen a bunch of people, who knows how true it is, but people posting like, I'm holding my high-end Trey Lance. I won't move it. I think it's a little bit different in the high-end world because they have so much money invested. Maybe if you have let's say you have a $30,000 Trey Lance, are you really going to take 10, 15K and lose that much money overnight, as opposed to, if you have a $100 card and now it's $60, you just, and you don't have a huge budget, you just want to collect and make some trades and stuff. Maybe you just take that $60 and keep it moving. But I think it depends on the type of card. And I think it also depends on the person.
I wish him nothing but the best. You hate to see it. As soon as I saw the play, I thought of Dak Prescott. Very similar kind of injury. I hope he heals well. That's always another concern. Lower extremity, Alex Smith going into someone's leg, performing an operation. Let's hope he can bounce back from that because he has a lot of career ahead of him.
Yeah, 100%. I mean, he's young. I saw a stat. I think it was before he got injured, but it was like, all these guys at the age Trey Lance, like I think it was like, Peyton Manning and even Josh Allen, like these guys were older than him. You know what I mean? They came into the league a little bit older than him. So that's the good news. He has a lot of career ahead of him, like you said.
So let's step back now. Tell me about yourself. Walk me through. I know you say you're from the Bay Area, but how did you get interested in the hobby? And what have you kind of been involved in as far as cards? Let everybody know more about Troy.
Yeah. So getting into the hobby, it was actually kind of my parents who got me into it. So I appreciate them for that. I remember it was when LeBron and Carmelo, when their rookie cards first came out. I don't know how my parents found out about it, but like, oh, you and some of your friends, we should come to the card shop and you can rip some packs, see if you can get some LeBron. So that was my first memory with cards. That was my first memory collecting. So I did, and then after that, I fell in love with it. I remember I was big into football cards as a kid. I loved SPX football. I remember I used to watch box breaks all the time on YouTube, like the OG box breaks. I was super into it, and then same thing as most people. You know, you get older. I got busy with basketball and school and everything. I kind of wasn't collecting very actively. And then about, I think 3 years ago now, my friends were really into it. Two of my best friends from high school, actually, that I played basketball with, they were big into the sports card investing of it all, kind of before that was really a thing back in like 2017, 2018. And, you know, I was just kind of bored. I mean, it's only worth what I say, but I didn't get into it because I was like, oh, I want to make money. I was just like, well, one of the big things was one of my teammates from college, John Collins. I was like, hey, I really believe he's going to have a big year. It would be cool to kind of get some of his cards before he starts playing really well. So I started with his cards, and then I got Tyler Hero. And then once they started playing well, I'm like, wow, this is just so fun. This is so exciting. Like everyone who says it, right? You get into the hobby, it's just so much fun. And then, now here to stay.
So tell me about your basketball career.
Oh man, how much time do we have? I'll try to keep it kind of short.
You have no on this.
I'll try to keep it kind of short, basically. So, played basketball all my life. Always loved it. Was always my favorite sport. In high school, I was not a very good basketball player. My junior year of high school, in our biggest game of the season, I played 0 minutes. Not because I was injured, not because of anything. I just wasn't. The coach didn't think I was good enough. So yeah, even in my junior year of high school, I was a bench warmer. Senior year, I had a pretty good year. Made like all conference, but still was not a star or anything. Luckily, just kind of through chance, got the opportunity to play at Wake Forest. When I initially decided to go to that school, it wasn't for basketball. I just thought I was going to be a regular student, and things kind of worked out. Played 4 years there, and then it was the same thing with playing overseas in the Philippines. I was planning on having a regular job. I was just kind of being a little bit of a cocky college guy. And I was set on working at one company, and I was like, oh, I'm going to get it. I don't need to worry about all these other jobs. And then I made it to the final round, and then I didn't get that job. So a coach from the Philippines called me, and they had been recruiting me for a while. They're like, well, why don't you just come out here and play one tournament? And I was like, okay, well, I don't have a job right now. I might as well play one tournament. I packed my bag for 1 week's worth of clothes. And then I ended up playing over there for the past like 4 years. So it's been crazy. You know, I've gotten the chance to play with guys like John Collins, Lamar Odom, play against guys like Jason Tatum, Marvin Bagley, Donovan Mitchell. So the experiences I've had have been crazy.
That's a wonderful story, man. Wonderful. So how tall were you in high school?
I was tall. I was 6'6", 6'7", but you know, I weighed 175 pounds. I hadn't really grown into my body. And it's funny, even now, like, you know, I was playing basketball today. I'm like, I feel like I'm still coming into my own body at 26. So I've always been kind of a late bloomer. Yeah,
everybody develops differently. You know, we hear stories all the time about certain athletes having growth spurts late. Even like Scottie Pippen. There are many athletes you could talk about that in high school they were at one height, and then a couple of years later they're on a totally different playing level, agility level, height level, and then things start changing. Wake Forest is a great school, man.
Yeah. It was really like, that's academically and athletically and socially and everything. Like I can't speak highly enough. It was one of the best experiences I've ever had in my life.
That's very good. Thank you for sharing that.
Yeah, of course.
So we got Michael Thomas here saying, "What's up, fellas? Good to see a fellow 49ers fan here. Two great people in the hobby."
There we
So
go.
I know you said you had just come back from the Dallas show. Talk to us a little bit about kind of how you travel, how you decide what shows to go to, and what steps you go through in that process.
That's a very interesting question. I don't think I've ever answered that out loud. So I mean, the first criteria is how busy is the show going to be.
Mhm.
So that's my number one criteria. I was at we were both at the Burbank Card Show. We saw
Yes.
each other at the Burbank Card Show. I know Burbank. I know Dallas. I know even though I haven't been, a show like the National, these are going to be very busy shows. So that's not my number one criteria. And then after that, it kind of just boils down to how feasible it is. There's been certain Dallas card shows where I was trying to go last minute and round trip was close to $1,000, and it just didn't really make sense for me. But yeah, it's been good now that I have. I'm lucky enough with the content, and I have some sponsors and stuff like that make it possible for me to go to these shows. I usually set up as a dealer, so I'm usually able to to bring in a little bit of money doing that. So there's a lot of different criteria that goes through my head of like, okay, am I going to film good content? How good are the deals going to be versus, like, for instance, there's some local shows I go to that I know are not going to be as busy as a Dallas, but it's not really costing me anything to go to them. So I'm kind of just go for it.
And if anyone has not watched your content, you have excellent content.
Thank you. I appreciate
very
that.
Down to earth, very relatable, educational, without trying to be preachy or educate. You have your own flow. You do your thing. Like the first time I walked up to the table at Del Mar and met you, it was like I had met you before. And we talked for a little bit. We took a picture together.
Yeah.
It was like, there are other people that you can meet that you don't, even though you may watch their content, you don't really feel like you know them, but you do a great job of that. I wanted to tell you that.
Yeah. I really appreciate that. I also have to say I love your content as well. So thanks so much for having me on. And it was great to meet you in person. That's what I try to do on the channel. I think when I started the channel, it's like I wanted to, in a sense, like I kind of wanted to make content like for myself, not for me, like to make it, but like what would I have needed when I was getting into the hobby, or I was kind of, so that's what I always try to keep a perspective of. Like, what do I like to watch? I like to have a little bit of fun, but I also like to learn a little bit along the way, as opposed to some people, like they love hyper technical videos, and there's nothing wrong with that, but like, that's not what I like personally kind of relate to. So that's how I kind of got to my style on it.
Understood. I can see that. Sports Card Show asks, any tips for a young ninth grader that is playing AAU ball and made varsity as a freshman?
Well, first I have to say congrats. That's a big achievement. I didn't make varsity until my junior year, so you can tell him or her, that's already great. I guess my main tips would be, one, like just stay patient. That's the thing. Whenever I go to a camp or talk to younger kids, I would always say, like, it's a marathon, not a sprint. So don't get caught up in, like, the people who were good as ninth graders and eighth graders, like at the time, or even just one game, you're like, oh, I missed a shot in my ninth grade game, my career is over. Once you've gone through it, you see how little that stuff, I don't want to say how little it matters, but it doesn't affect where you're going. So I think that's the thing. My whole thing was always like, even if I wasn't the best player, even if I wasn't scoring at the tournaments or doing this, I just kept my head down and worked and tried to have fun at the same time. Like one of my biggest, it's actually from Doc Rivers, one of my biggest things I always tell myself is always finish the race. So I never had, I don't have a Michael Jordan or Kobe Bryant work ethic, but if we had a workout or we had practice, I'm not skipping reps. I'm not skipping practices. I'm not cheating the lines. I'm not quitting. I'm not doing any of that stuff. So that's what I would say. Just keep your head down, always finish the race, and don't worry about all that stuff that's happening in ninth grade. Because if you just keep working, you'll be surprised where you can get to.
Not skipping reps and not skipping things. Very important. I always want to piggyback on that. It's very important. So I'm in college and I'm playing football, and we had a running back that was up for the Harlan Hill. He'll love me telling this story. Yeah, he's up for the Harlan Hill, which is a Division II football Heisman Trophy.
Okay.
He plays running back. He he was running the ball a lot, had good yards. But it came a point in the season. Well, you wouldn't see him at practice on Monday and Tuesday. And you probably wouldn't see him at practice on Wednesday. And if you saw him at practice on Thursday and Friday, game on Sunday, I'm on Saturday now. If you saw him at practice on Thursday and Friday, he was just like stepping through, going through some reps. Coach may call a play. He'll walk through the play, things like that. This entire time now, he's putting on weight. He's gaining weight as we go through the season. And we're all just like, are you noticing this guy's changing? Like physically, he is changing. And so this goes back to when it came time to work out for the NFL Combine and all that, none of that went the way he wanted it to go. So when you say that, most people don't talk like that. But when you say that, it's just I've known some people who are, quote unquote, good at something, at playing basketball or playing football or playing another sport. And then there are other people on the team who are just working to try to get better, just working. Yep. And I always say, if you can combine those two people, then that's when you have something. But a lot of times they stay mutually exclusive.
Yeah. Yeah. And it's funny. It applies to everything too. I think people get so caught up like in the card world, right? Like, and granted, I do some of it too. Sometimes I show like my big time deals, right, on YouTube. Kids will come in and be like, how do I find, like, I got really lucky. It's luck, right? One time I bought a $3,000 card and I was able to sell it for $13,000. And so, and people will see that and be like, how do I do that? I want to do that. I want to do that. And it's like, that's not like where you're going to find success. It's about like, if you just put in the work, consistency, then you can start finding, like, those deals will come. You'll find your 3x, 4x deal if you start with the dollar boxes.
True.
And you learn and you build those connections, and you're just $1, sell for $5. Like you'll build up. And that's the same thing with sports, right? Like if you put in that work, maybe on that particular team, you're not the Heisman. Like for me in college, I never really got my chance to be a main player for our team. I was a bench player. I didn't play that much in college, but I just kept working. And then all of a sudden I got that call from the Philippines and I was ready. I was ready to go. And that was my opportunity. And I took the most of it.
It's a great story, man. I hope a lot of people out there listening learn something from that, because it's true. In every aspect of life, no matter what it is, it's very true. Let's get to some more questions here. Do you do sports cards full time, or do you have a regular 9 to 5, something sports cards?
Yeah. So for the past 3-4 years, my full-time job was basketball, and I did sports cards on the side. I'm kind of like deciding what's the best next step for my basketball future right now. I might play in another country. I might retire. So right now, sports cards is kind of like my full-time job. So that's why I'm able to travel to these shows, and I'm kind of looking at things differently as more of a dealer than just, picking up cards here and there.
So, do you have a PC? And if you do, what's in it?
I do. The backbone of my PC is John Collins, my former college teammate. That's the main guy I collect. But I also collect Filipino athletes. So Jalen Green, there's some Filipino soccer players. There's a lot of people. Actually, I did a video about it. So where I showed off kind of some of the cards in my personal collection. So definitely encourage everyone to check it out.
That's very cool. Very cool.
Yep.
You know what's interesting is that when I talk to people who sell cards a lot and who move around the country, when I find out what's in their PC, it's like artwork, man. It's like a personal touch, to what they collect. It has nothing to do. It's about something dealing with them. It has nothing to do with anything else. No, they're not chasing the dollars of a card. It's more than that.
For sure. And I would say the interesting, and there's nothing wrong with it. I've seen some big time dealers with really nice personal collections, one of ones and stuff like that. But what's interesting for me is I don't really have that much of a huge desire to go for, the one of ones and stuff like that. I just kind of like having the card. Like I bought a $1, literally it was $2.26 was my eBay purchase. I bought a a rookie sticker of a Filipino soccer player from Germany. And that made me as happy as if I had bought a $2,000 John Collins 1-of-1. It doesn't matter to me the value. I think just whatever happens to appeal to me. That's what I pick up.
Very cool. Learning more about you, Troy.
There you go.
Sports Car Show says, thank you very much, Troy, rolling with FD. Don't cheat yourself. I will relate to this. Thank you both for the great content and moments like this connecting. Cheers. Can you talk about how you got into soccer cards?
Yeah, that's interesting. So I'm not sure exactly what motivated me in the first place. I don't know how. I feel like I told the story at one point and I kind of remembered, but now I don't remember. I've always been a soccer fan. It's my favorite sport to watch. When I first got into the hobby, I didn't really even know that soccer cards existed. I don't think they literally didn't at all when I was a kid. But I think part of it was making content. I was just like, oh, what are some other cards I can talk about? Because I was always hearing about the same type of cards. I'd be like, oh, I don't think I've ever seen anyone really talk about soccer. So I just threw in one soccer card, and it was a guy called Phil Foden, who turned out to be like really, really successful. So I still have people to this day tell me like, oh, you told me about Phil Foden and you really helped me with that. And I don't know, for whatever reason, like I just did that and it was kind of fun. I love that it was, you're always learning new things, right? Like with basketball, it's like Prism or Topps Chrome. If it's from a certain year, Topps Chrome is the rookie afterwards, mainly Prism. Where soccer, even in the same year, it might be a sticker, it might be Topps Chrome, it might be Prism, it might be Obsidian, it might be Panini Contenders. Like it was cool. I was just like, wow, I'm learning all these things every day, and I like that it was just a new exciting world.
P asks a good question here. What's the market like in the Philippines outside the U.S. for cards?
So in the Philippines, it's there's some really nice cards in the Philippines. People are always really surprised when I tell them that. I think it's Cards Manila is probably the main one that comes to mind. Check them out on IG, but like 1-of-1 Luka Doncic autos, like crazy stuff. So there's some super high-end collectors. I can only really speak for the Philippines confidently, but I would say it's different. There's definitely not as much like flipping going on just because it's harder, right? You can't just ship like things. You just can't ship things and pick up things so quickly. So at least in my experience, I didn't do too much trading or buying or selling in the Philippines just because in my experience, like people were really tough on deals just because it's hard to get cards over there, right? Like, if I move a card at a show in the States, I can pick up the same card, even if it's a relatively somewhat rare card. I can probably find it somewhere in the room. It's not a huge deal. Where over there, you got to deal with import taxes and all that stuff happening. So it kind of changes the game. The fact that cards aren't as easy to come by.
There's a question here on, can you give tips on soccer cards?
Tips on soccer cards. I guess, it's a whole video, right? All the tips. But I guess the first one would be, it's not exactly like basketball or football, or it's different than what you've known. Like I said, like I already mentioned, in the first part, you might think, oh, this guy's rookie card was Prism, so I like this other player, I'm going to go buy his Prism. It's like, hold up, wait a minute. His rookie card actually isn't a Prism. You don't want to go buy his Prism. You want to go buy his rookie sticker. So that's one thing. So you got to educate yourself. That'll be the first thing. If you want to dive into soccer cards and know it's a different market, do your research before you dive in. It's even more important than other sports because there's less carryover. The players are different as well. Like for instance, all the time it happens, right? Kevin Durant, granted he was hurt, but he moved. Well, a better example, when he moved from the Thunder to the Warriors, he dominated. He was amazing. That's kind of how it works. Like people don't move from the Thunder to the Warriors and then they suck. Like that doesn't happen. That happens in soccer all the time. People will move from, because they're in Germany or Portugal, then they move to England and all of a sudden they don't perform well. So that's something you have to be careful of that. Like changing country to country, it's a whole different ball game. So that's what I would say. Yeah, just know that things are different. Make sure you do your research. But it's kind of like soccer is almost like more high risk, high reward because things are rarer. It's different. People don't know it as well. So there's a lot of opportunity there as well.
Interesting. Throw it back says in the Philippines they treat cars more like pieces of art. Is what I've seen.
Yeah, I mean, they're so fanatical over there about basketball and collecting. So that's the other reason too. I felt bad when I was trying to buy and sell. It was literally like you're ripping out a piece of someone's heart. Like they love those cards over there. So I was like, you know what? I'll buy at shows in the U.S. You guys can hold on to them. I don't want to take away like your baby from you.
It's interesting. Sports card show pre-2020, Asia was buying about 40% of basketball cards and helped to keep prices up. We forget China NBA relations are not the same as pre-COVID.
Interesting.
Michael Thomas, I love that answer to how a PC card, regardless of value, makes someone happy. With me, Brian Young was my favorite player while I was in the Army. It's what makes you happy. At the end of the day, that's how I feel as
100%.
well.
That's
Really
that's the great thing about the hobby.
Mm-hmm. What's your opinion on? Make sure I said his first name right. Yeremy Pino.
Yeah, Jeremy Pino. I don't know a ton about him. If I'm not mistaken, he's a defender, I believe. So that's another thing about soccer cards that goes to educating yourself. And I'm not saying like if you happen to invest in Jeremy Pino cards, like could do well, go ahead, have fun. But in general, defenders don't sell very well in soccer, even if they become world-class top type players. I also could be talking out of my behind and he's not even a defender, but I'm pretty sure he is. So I would just be careful with that.
Let's see here. It's expensive in the Philippines. Flippers will buy lot cards on eBay, etc. Then ship it back to the here, then or here, and then sell it for 3 times. Example, those $3 to $6 cards on eBay that sell it here for 10 to 20.
Yeah, that's definitely that was my experience. Like people were really, really high. And that's part of the reason I was like, okay, I don't think I can really buy over here just because people were asking a lot. But it also makes sense, right? Because let's say you want a $5 card, it's only worth $5 in the States. You can't really ship that to the Philippines. It's going to cost you $20 minimum. A lot of times you have to pay import tax too. So I actually have a buddy who sells a lot of cards in Australia. And I'm pretty sure a lot of what he does is he just buys them kind of in bulk and then he just kind of pieces them out once they get there. So I think there's also there's opportunity as well for people overseas that maybe you wouldn't have in the States.
Well, what are your thoughts on non-sports cards? Do you buy, sell anything that's non-sports?
Yeah, I don't. And it's totally not. There's something it doesn't for whatever reason there's actors, there's singers, there's rappers that I'm a fan of, but for whatever reason I have no personal desire to collect their cards. So maybe that's kind of why I've never got into it. I mean, I think if you look at what Fanatics and Zero Cool what they're doing, like they've said like that's the market they're looking to grow. So I wouldn't be surprised if that stuff continues to do well. It's just not my personal cup of tea.
Understand. Yeah.
Yep.
I know several people in the hobby will answer that question.
What about you?
I've purchased a few non-sports cards, some Marvel stuff, but I would not say that it's my go-to when I'm at a show looking for something. I purchased a Killmonger card from Black Panther. I really love the movie. I really love the character. So that card popped out to me at a table. I've seen a lot of stuff. I know people that primarily sell Marvel actors, actresses, WWE, things like that. I like to just talk to them at a show to learn more when we're there and ask some questions. But I wouldn't say that's my go-to. I would say basketball, football, maybe baseball. And it's interesting to me. I was just on the phone with a friend yesterday, and I was talking about I started collecting baseball cards when I started collecting. Now I very rarely watch a baseball game, and I look at baseball cards as high risk, like really high risk. I feel like when I watch a game, I don't know where that player is going to be in 5 to 10 years at all. And then if you look like at a Mike Trout, I know he just announced there's some stuff going on with him physically, but the market for Julio Rodriguez is much harder than the market for Mike Trout. And it makes me scratch my head. But that I think that same thing probably resonates in football and basketball as well. Some of the hot prospects players that are coming out, people are really drawn to. But it's just funny to me what baseball is in my mind now compared to when I was just starting to collect cards. And where it was in the nation, actually, not just with me.
Yeah. I mean, baseball is really tough. I was actually having a discussion with a friend the other day, and he was saying he really just wants to go for broke. Like he wants to buy a card for $2,000 just in hopes that it's one day worth like $50,000. And I explained the risks. Like, you know what I mean? Like it's probably 99 out of 1,000. It's not going to happen that way. So he understood the risks. But what I did say is I think baseball prospecting might be your best bet if you're really looking for that huge, because like you said, it's tough. It's really tough. It's really high risk, but it's also really high reward. You know what I mean? He was asking me, oh, what if I, bought big on Jalen Green? Or I was like, Jalen Green is already expensive. Like he might play well and his cards might go up, but they're definitely not going to 30x because of how expensive he is already. Like, and then he's like, what about Trevor Lawrence or someone? I was like, even with him, he's pretty, like all these QBs and all these top NBA players are already pretty expensive to begin with. So there's only, so much they can go. Where in baseball, a lot of times I don't want to say a lot of times, but there's definitely been times where the first overall draft pick hardly even makes it to the big leagues. Like that's wild. You know what I mean? So that's the high risk, high reward there.
Yeah, that was good advice you gave, because that's definitely. You think about some of the players. Like I remember at the beginning of the season, everybody was talking about Wander Franco, and
what happened with him? I was actually looking to buy some cards today, and I noticed his cards are down a lot.
Well, he was batting 260. Then he got hit in the hand. So then he was out for a while. He only had a few home runs. The power that he displayed, he wasn't displaying this year. So it's like, I think people got to realize too that when you play baseball, you play any of these sports, you play quarterback. I don't know how much film I watched, and I know you watched film when you were still playing.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
You learn the players' weaknesses. Now, the players that are extraordinary players will adapt. They keep adapting. You're talking about a player like a Tom Brady. He is he's not the same player he was years ago, because people have brought different defenses to him to try to alienate his weakness on the play. And he's adapted on the field when he knows that you're about to do that. That's rare. You look at a Baker Mayfield, you look at some of these guys, it's hard for them to adapt. This is what I do. And then when the defense presents something else to you, it's very, very difficult. That's why I tell people all the time, probably the higher risk other than baseball would be quarterbacks in the NFL. That's one of the toughest positions to play. These defenses now will show you one particular defense. As soon as that ball is snapped, they're in a totally different defense, totally different scheme the way it's looking. Can you find that? Can you see that? If not, you're going to struggle.
Yeah, and the tough thing about
throw the ball 70 yards, if you run a 4-2, you're going to struggle. Go ahead.
Yeah, I was just going to say that the tough thing about football too is there's so much out of your control.
Mm-hmm.
Like I actually like Trevor Lawrence a lot. I mean, granted, he actually had a good week last week, but like just the fact that he's on the Jaguars really scares me. Like I genuinely believe
I say it all the time. Yeah.
There's a ton of quarterbacks who flamed out of the league. If they had just been drafted somewhere else, I genuinely believe they would still be playing, having a successful career. Where in basketball, if you can hoop for the most part, people they'll kind of figure it out. But in football, if you're, like I said, if you don't have an offensive line, what are you going to do? Literally, there's nothing you can do.
It's like right now with Burrow.
Yeah, there's nothing you can
do.
He's
running for his life. He's getting sacked at a historic record right now. He's getting rushed or pushed or knocked down. That stuff adds up. Like I think about Derek Carr's brother that was with the Houston Texans years ago. Pretty decent quarterback. Just always sacked, hurt, hit hard, knocked down, rushed. It does not end well. It becomes something else. So
100%.
Hard to play these positions.
Agreed.
Oh, we got this Sock said thoughts on Trevor Lawrence market. I think we just Trey Lance market. We talked about that at the beginning. Some people may hold, some people may sell.
Yeah, it's gonna go down. I think shout out I think Neo Sports Cards has done some videos kind of showing the graph. It's like the hype will kind of come back around. So Trey Lance market will probably go down, might go down even further, and then probably close to next season his cards, if I had to guess, it'll be higher than the lows it gets to. But do you want to hold it that long? Does it make sense? What else could you have done with that money? So, but yeah, that pattern will probably hold true. But then it's kind of just what do you want to do with it?
Well, that's a golden question when we talk about any cards. Is the length of time that one is holding.
Mm-hmm.
There are some people that, when I was young, there were some collectors that I met who were grown men at the time who were holding. I mean, for years, they're going to hold on these cards. Now we have activity that, in a 2020, 2021, you may buy a card on Monday, sell it on Friday. So I think that's always the conversation piece of how long is one holding a particular card, or what's your belief in a particular player. Trey Lance could still be playing right now, and we will still ask similar questions. It may be a little bit different because he's not playing at all. But what is his performance each week? Jimmy G, are they about to start him? These would be the things that people will start talking about. And then you still got to ask the question of how long are you going to hold that card?
Yeah, true.
Especially if he got benched and Jimmy G began to start.
Yep.
Mervin asked the question, Troy, you still have that Donruss Gold G to PSA 10?
I do. I still have it. I think, yeah. I know, Mervin. We were discussing a deal. I still have it, man. If you ever want to work out a deal, I'll be here for you.
Michael Thomas, the Trey Lance cards question to me is like Zion. What are your thoughts on Zion? What are your thoughts on Zion? And what are your thoughts on Ja Morant?
So, I mean, it's not any kind of bold take. I mean, I think Zion is extremely talented. I think when we've seen him on the court, some of the stuff he's done, like we haven't seen it from, some of how he's dominated has even been above a guy like Ja, like how he's been able to take over a game. The weight and the injuries are a big concern. I think that, like for instance, I have some Zion cards now. If I'm looking at it purely financially, I think your safest bet is to move them before the season because the hype is going to be crazy. People are going to be really excited for him, but once he actually starts playing, is he going to perform to that level? Is he going to get injured? Is he going to be on a minutes restriction? But he has all the talent in the world. Will he stay healthy? Will he get to that potential? I have no idea. I hope he does, but there's so much stuff that can stop him.
True. What do you think about Ja?
I like Ja a lot. The thing I've always said about Ja is, especially I like to say, because, I've played basketball. I'll speak up a little about basketball. Like I think I know it at a pretty good level.
Mm-hmm.
There are a ton of very talented scorers and point guards who are, especially too, like when you get guys who are that athletic, a lot of time they don't have to think the game as hard because they can just, score. Like they don't have to worry about all that other stuff. Ja Morant's feel of the game and the way he makes his teammates better is elite. That's what I love about him. Like, if you're playing with Ja Morant, I would love to be on Ja Morant's team. Ja Morant, like, he gets his teammates in positions where they can excel and where they're comfortable with the ball. So that's why I think he's like a real winner. He can lead a team to a title because that's what's unique about him. He can score, he can pass, he can do everything, but he makes his teammates better, which is a unique thing that you don't see from most players.
Yeah, I've watched a lot of basketball over the years, and you don't see a Ja Morant often. Like, you don't see that kind of explosiveness, willing to dunk on anyone or take it to the rim on anyone. And kind of the chatter on the court that comes with it. We've played against people that like to talk.
Yeah.
It's just interesting to watch. People make a comparison between him and Derrick Rose because they're so athletic. But it's going to be interesting to see how he develops over time.
Definitely. I mean, I think, as long as, once again, it's always just a question of health, especially like the way he jumps. Like every time he lands, people say it's scary the way he lands, and it really is. So I just I wish him nothing but the best. I hope he stays healthy, and if he does, then the sky's the limit.
So do I. Baker Boy asked a question. Oh, he said Zion to the moon, but you asked a question earlier. Who do you have in the NBA final?
I gotta have my Warriors back there. Gotta have the Warriors going back. I mean, with Kuminga and all these guys, they're only going to be better. I like they got DiVincenzo, some other people, so that's interesting.
I thought that was a pick up DiVincenzo.
Yeah, the Warriors just do a great job. They always find a way to pick these good people, even when it doesn't work out. Right? Like I always think about like DeMarcus Cousins. Like that pickup didn't exactly work out, but I was like, hey, if we could go back in time, I'll take that pickup every day of the week. Just then, you know what I mean? Like he got injured and it didn't work out, but that was an amazing pickup.
Have you seen video Cousins this all season?
Of him? Yeah, he's been cooking, right?
What team is he on now?
I don't know. That's a good question.
He's the leanest I've ever seen him.
Yeah,
and he just looks good. He looks like his fluidity is back. He just looks good on video right now.
Yeah, I mean he's talented. It was funny. We were at the Warriors game against the Nuggets, and it was me and my buddy. And my buddy was talking smack to DeMarcus when we were walking by the bench. And then DeMarcus was used some expletives, but he was barking right back at him, which was funny. But then he went on the court and he dropped like 20. Like he has that in his game. Like his bag, as you say, is deep. So he can do some things.
He's talented. I even saw him doing some dunks. In the video I saw on Instagram, he just looks. I haven't seen him look like that since before he got hurt.
Yeah,
because it takes a lot out of you, man. Tearing your Achilles takes a lot out, because you got to think that year he was with New Orleans, he was out playing AD.
Yeah, people forget how good he was in New Orleans. He was so good, even after the Kings. But the one thing I will say is workout videos are very deceiving. Every year we see Ben Simmons hitting like 23s in a row in the offseason. Then he comes back and he doesn't take one. So you never know, right?
Who do you think the Warriors are going to be playing against in the finals? Who you got coming out the East?
I mean, I like the Bucks. It's hard to bet against Giannis. I don't like the Celtics. I really don't think they're that good. I don't think they're that good of a basketball team. I think I don't think they'll make the finals, but I think the Cavs. I like what the Cavs have done. Yeah, I got to ride with Giannis. He was in Eurobasket. That guy's he's literally a superhero.
Yeah, he and that's a player that's developing his game. I mean, every time
he gets better every year.
Gets better every year. Gets that jumper right. He's getting some length on it. His mid range has gotten better. He can go for it. What do you think? Now, this is a question I've asked some people. So Donovan Mitchell came to the Cavs. How do you think that's going to affect Garland? Do you think? Because I only asked this question because Donovan Mitchell is kind of a ball dominant guard. He's probably not as dominant as some other people that are in the league, but he holds the ball longer than probably somebody that Garland has played with. What's your take on that?
I think Garland is their guy. And with all due respect to Mitchell, he's not Kevin Durant, and he's not he kind of like I said, all due respect, he had his chance to have the ball in his hands the whole game, and he did well. He had some success, but like I said, it's different. If Kevin Durant's showing up, the ball's in his hands, and that's kind of the end of the discussion. I don't think that's how it's going to work with Donovan Mitchell. I think he is going to need the ball in his hands, and he's going to get it, but they love Garland, and he's kind of like their guy, so I don't see a scenario where it just happens like, well, sorry, Garland, guess you don't get to score anymore. Like, they're not going to do that to him. Like, that's their guy. And I think Donovan Mitchell was brought in to help their team, not to be the team. Like, I think that's what it's going to be.
Okay, I like that. I can see that. What's another question I had? Rudy Gobert going to Minnesota. Does that make that team better? Make that team worse?
I mean, anytime you add Rudy Gobert, I don't think you can. It's hard to say it makes your team worse, but I do not. The fit with him and Towns.
It's weird to me.
Yeah, it's just that's not the way basketball is going. It's not at all. I mean, Towns can shoot, but it's not really. And I think they can have success, but I don't think you're not going to ever win a championship that way. You know what I mean?
This was my thought, right? So to me, it puts more pressure on Towns because now you have to play the small forward, power forward.
Yeah.
Think about the level of talent that's at those two positions right now. He's going to play defense on that? Is he going to D up Zion on a given night?
Right? Or Kevin Durant. He's going to guard Kevin Durant?
Well, as soon as I heard about that trade, I thought, man, Towns, I hope he's ready for what they just signed him up for.
Yeah. Yeah, it's interesting. There's definitely things you can do. I mean, like I said, it's kind of hard to say no to getting Rudy Gobert on your team, but yeah, I'm not sure I'm a huge fan of that fit.
So Josh asked a question here. I may have missed it, but what is Troy's YouTube channel called?
It is Trike415. I'm the worst marketer in the world. I don't even. I put my name as Troy. Didn't put my YouTube anywhere. Yeah, but it's Trike415. Everyone, make sure to check it out.
So give us the background on the YouTube name. How did you come up with Trike 415? Because I think it's original. Myself, no one's confusing your YouTube channel for anything else.
Mhm.
So in that regard, it stands out. But give us some background on how you developed that name.
Yeah, I mean it's pretty simple actually. Maybe I'm not giving myself enough credit for being a marketer. I think iconic brands, it's like I like it to be short, crisp, and unique, right? So you even like you think of like I like it when it's like Nike, Lulu, like that kind of stuff, like Trike. I was just like, all right, so it's my first name's Troy, my last name's Rike. Some people call me that. It's not like my huge nickname, but a lot of people call me that. So I just put that, and then me being in the Philippines, I think it was actually my mom. I was telling her, I was like, should I just do Trike or should I do Trike 415? And she's like, do the 415. It's nice because it kind of like places you, like people know where you're from and like where your roots are and everything. So that was kind of how I got to that name.
That's a cool name to me, man.
Yeah, appreciate it.
What other questions? Market question.
Market. Okay, here we go.
Difficult question for me, anybody else. None of us really. We don't have a crystal ball. We can't see into the future. But what do you think the market is going 6 months, 12 months, 18 months when we talk about the sports card market?
Ooh, that's a tough one. I will say I'll take the easy one first. I'm optimistic about the soccer card market going into the World Cup. You know, like we've always said, no one has a crystal ball, but what I always say, everyone, is like, I would be surprised if we just get to the World Cup. It's on TV. We have the commercials. Everyone's watching it. And just nothing happens to the card market. Like that would be pretty surprising to me. It may happen, but that would be surprising. So I'm optimistic about soccer in the short term. That's funny. Sorry, I'm seeing Mervin's comment.
Yeah, I see Mervin's comment. Yeah. I didn't want you to explain it so that people know where it came from.
Yeah, I mean, hey, that's actually that's funny. I'll have to like that's part of it
because I did think it has something to do with cycling.
There's also a deep cut that I'm not sure if Mervin knows about, but there's some inappropriate stuff that involves tricycles, and they call it trike in the Philippines. But that's we'll say that for another channel. Anyways, okay, market coming up. I think that there's going to be more consolidation in the market. I think I am a little bit worried, like how many cards PSA is pumping out right now. They're doing, what is it, 1 million a month? And I think it's growing. So can the market sustain that? That's a little bit worrying to me. You know what I mean? Like to be purchasing and all those all those new slabs every month. So yeah, but I think that the big events, I think basketball season, they'll be hyped for that. They'll be hyped for the World Cup. But I think if I'm being honest on the whole, I don't see a big rise or a big boom in the next 6 to 12 months outside of those big events. I think when Fanatics starts getting fully involved, things will be interesting. Because you know they paid so much for those licenses. They have to grow the market. That's what I always say. Fanatics is not going to can be content with the amount of consumers in the market. They will lose a ton of money if the sports card market stays the same size as it is now. So I think that's the next kind of big all right, guys. Can't look at the comments anymore. People are going wild in the comments.
Yeah.
That's funny.
Yeah, but I agree with you. I was having a conversation the other day that people should know that 2020 and 2021 is rare in the marketplace. When we start talking about car values, it'll be interesting to me to just see what rises and by how much, what player, what sport overall. If Tom Brady wins his 8th ring, what does that do for Tom Brady cards? Are people already thinking that? We've seen in the past that championships don't create a huge spike because people kind of knew Steph Curry was going to win a championship. He's going to win his 4th. People kind of speculated, looking at the team and the talent level on it, that he was probably going to be Finals MVP. So that didn't shock people to the point. You want to see it. It has a blip on the graph of the chart. But and I always say this, right? In basketball, LeBron, how many more years is he going to play? I don't know. Steph Curry, 5'6", maybe. Kevin Durant, he's 34 years old, about to be 35. What's next in these sports? I think we're at a key point, and you're going to see it with the quarterbacks in football. Tom Brady is a guy that has transcended time. There are a lot of quarterbacks that have come and go. There are players that Tom Brady's playing against that weren't born when he won that first Super Bowl. So when those players leave, those legends, who's up next? Because I always give this summary of time. When LeBron James in 2010 said he was going to, I'm taking my talents to South Beach, no one was talking about Steph Curry. Steph was at that time probably having ankle surgeries, hurt, out. No one's talking about him. But if you look at today's day, people are talking about Steph Curry. There's going to be other players that we'll look back on and we'll say, oh, I remember when that guy got his start, or that young lady got their start. There are other GOATs coming. There are other Hall of Fame, like real GOATs. There are other Hall of Famers coming. It's going to be interesting to see who they are, because these respective sports are somewhat changing. The running back position in football is not what it used to be. In basketball, you got to be able to score from anywhere on the court. They're asking centers and power forwards to shoot the three. Nobody was asking Kareem and Shaq to do that. So things have completely changed. How will it pan out? When we look back at this interview years from now, who will be the star players in the league? And a lot of these leagues, you don't know that.
Yeah. I mean, just go back. You can go back and look at those lists. They have them up. Sometimes they even do recaps. Look at Bleacher Reports. They guess who are going to be the top 5 players 5 years from now. They're always wrong. And it's funny, even they did a soccer one, and the soccer ones are laughably wrong. Basketball, they'll get about half, maybe 40, 30% right. In soccer, they were 90% wrong. So it's always funny to look at those.
And I'll tell you about me, like I had looked at point guards. When I remember when I first saw Steph coming out in the draft, it's like, this guy's too small, can't make it. Like he's not going to take the physical impact that he's going to need to take 9 in, 9 out. Can't do that. I had never seen a guy step back and shoot threes like this and open up the court and create the three off his own dribble. Ray Allen didn't do that. No one else had done that. Reggie Miller didn't do that. These guys was fighting screens. Rip Hamilton didn't do that. They run all around the court. They're going to run you to death. So I think sometimes when people change stuff so much, that's when that list just can't be right. I was dead wrong. So, I mean, at one point, I thought Peyton Manning was not going to be a great quarterback when he first came.
We're all wrong all the time. That's the funniest. Like when I see, I told you so. Especially sometimes I'll get comments like, "Oh, see, look at you." I'm like, "Yeah, I'm wrong. You're wrong. I'm going to be wrong again, and you're going to be wrong again." So whether it's Instagram or anything, like even that's the thing. Like even if you're the best in the world, first of all, if you were the best in the world at predicting talent, you'd be in a GM's office, and then they're wrong 90% of the time.
That's
so
right.
that just is what it is.
Kawhi Leonard, what do you think? Baker Boy said Kawhi is going to take over.
Kawhi Leonard, I don't really have any real thoughts. I think that I don't love that Clippers team because I feel like we already seen it, right? Like I know they've been injured, but didn't we see Kawhi and Paul George together in the playoffs?
Right.
And now they're older and more injured, right? So I don't know. That's kind of it for me.
I feel the same way. I always say to me, a team with Paul George as a key component of success, or the need for him to be successful, I don't know if that team's winning the championship.
Yeah, agreed.
I just don't believe in Paul George like that.
Yep.
Mr. Thomas, thank you for being here. Hope you have a great week as well.
Appreciate it, man.
So if there was a new person to the hobby, or someone that's young that's just getting started with collecting cards or moving cards around, whatever title they have, what would be some advice that you would give them?
What advice would I give them? I mean, I would say know why you're getting into the hobby. Like my advice would depend on what they want to do. If they tell me I don't care 1 cent about investing or making money. I just want to collect the players they love. Then my advice is going to be a lot different. I would say, hey, if you're going to your first card show, don't just buy the first Jordan Poole card you see, because you're going to find a bunch more that you like. So, be careful. Make sure you know the comp, so you're not overpaying. But it would be different if someone's like, hey, I want to get in and I want to like invest. I want to make money. Then my advice for them would be different. So I think it kind of just depends on which they asked.
Understood.
Yeah.
Question here. Troy, Messi or Ronaldo?
Oh boy, I don't think I've ever been asked this one. I don't know. It's hard for me to choose. I'm a huge FC Barcelona fan, so I think I love Messi, but the way Ronaldo dominates, I almost like that's a really weird take to have, but I think I enjoy watching Ronaldo more. I've just always liked the physical, just dominant. He's just a dominant specimen out there. So I think, I can't choose. I enjoy watching Ronaldo play more, but Messi's one of I just appreciate him so much because of what he did for the club.
Understood. For Bronny James, should ever lower the draft age? There's some conversation here about lowering the draft age.
Wow, imagine Bronny James Prism 1 of 1. Imagine.
Oh, that's gonna
gotta be $1 million. Even regardless of what he does, people gotta pay. Like, that's gonna be funny. Maybe that's when the market will. When Bronny James gets drafted, people are gonna be hyped. That's gonna be awesome.
I agree with that. I've said to some people he's going to shake up a whole bunch of stuff. It'd be interesting to see him and LeBron play together. Where they play at too. When Cleveland got their team together with these moves that they've made, first question people started asking is LeBron going back to Cleveland?
Right, that'd be funny.
That would be fun.
That'd be interesting.
So what shows are you going to next?
I'm going to the Vegas card show, October 6th, and then I'm going to Del Mar straight after. So those are the next 2 shows I'm going to. I wanted to shout out, there's a cool show in Hayward coming up this weekend. I'm going to be out of town, so I won't be there, but it'll be a good time.
Very cool, very cool. It's a pleasure talking to you, getting to know you more.
Of course, man. It was a pleasure. Thanks for having me on. Always good to see you at card shows. What, are you going to be at Del Mar?
I'll be at Del Mar.
Okay, cool.
Yep.
Awesome. I'll see you there. For
the entire weekend, sir.
Awesome.
Troy Trike 415. It's good to have you here, brother. And before we go now, with my guests, I asked them, who are they rolling with? We add you to the intro. And then you say you're rolling with FD. So, Troy, who you rolling with?
I'm rolling with FD.
Thank you, brother. I appreciate you.
There we go.
And when we get to Del Mar, I'm pretty sure I have my son with me. I don't know if he met you at Burbank, but I'll bring him by. So you can
okay, yeah, for sure. I would love to meet him.
Yeah, he's 6 years old, going on 7 soon, a little bit after that. But I'd love for him to meet you, man.
There you go. That'd be great. I look forward to it.
Thank you for your time. I really appreciate this. You're one of the people. There's a list of some people that I was like, I would love to have that person on the show and talk to them and get to know them better. You're one of the people on that list. So I appreciate your time and for you being here.
Of course. I had a great time. We'll have to do it again.
Yes, sir. Thank you, brother.
Perfect.
Talk to you soon.
See you guys.
Yep.
Peace.